Hi, okay, so I'm Sarah, and I did mandatory reporting based off substance abuse moms who are going through like withdrawal and all of that. So my little story behind it, I've always had love for the labor and delivery unit, what they go through each day and seeing a baby being brought into the world, the different stories that each mom tells us, and how much, like how they must adjust to what the mom wants, like for the nurse, like the different aspects that, oh, they could want this for their labor, they could want this, like the different cultures. It's just so diverse. And then just seeing like the love come from these moms, but then on the other aspect, seeing moms that abuse and then have like substance abuse throughout the pregnancy, and just how that affects every single person around us, like the nurses and just the baby itself and the family of the mom and so on. So the major findings of each article, the A1 was an important one I used, and that was just stated the laws and what like a nurse kind of goes about throughout and what she has to do, and then just like the laws that she has to kind of follow and regulate. The other one tells us the disadvantages and the advantages of being a mandatory reporter, and with the good, bad, and ugly attached to it. So having to report those substance abuses, and then go about that with like social services and so what. It informs us that us nurses can and will offer support, guidance, and the education needed for this. The Savin article was the We Can Do Better one, and that had the major findings of it focusing on substance abuse disorders in general. So the relationship that the patient forms with the nurses and the kind of relationships that are vital for treatment. So if they are seeking treatment, just like the relationship, like the one-on-one relationship, really has shown to have massive improvements throughout the treatment, saying that if they have good support and moral support from the nurses or whoever they're getting it from, the more likely they will pass and then they will be drug-free. The last one was Camp Schmidt, was the prosecuting woman for drug use during pregnancy, and that showed the major finding of the shows that different solutions for those who are addicted to substances. So like, instead of putting them in jail, incarcerate them, taking them away from their babies, like that's not always like the best to do. The treatments are more looked at, like what can we do for them, like the stuff that they can go through, instead of like the absolute like end of them like getting their baby taken away. And then other options that can benefit more. So the strength and weaknesses of each article, the A1, I found the strength, it was just rules and regulations on what the nurse like needs to do and needs to follow, and like what they're kind of about. It's very point blank. The weaknesses, A1 didn't have like a ton of information on anything else. I mean, it needed what I needed. So that was good. It was just like short and sweet. The other one, strength, is to the point on what I needed for the lit review. So it was good, but the disadvantages, it was again short and very selective on what it talked about, although it did talk about what I needed it to. It just maybe gave like a page of information. I had to read it a few times to kind of understand what it was saying, but as soon as I understood, then it was okay. The third one was the Camp Schmidt one, and the strength with that was it was just overall good, not too informative, but it was good for what I needed. More broad on the aspect, I didn't really need to like read it over and over and over again. Just the weakness about it was very lengthy. It was about a couple 100-page book. Luckily, what I needed was at the top, like the front of it. And then, like I said, just kind of getting annoying to read, but what I needed was at the beginning. And then the Savin one, the strength for that, the website did an amazing job at touching on everything. It broke it up into different aspects and was very easy to find the information. It just like broke it down like tab by tab. The weakness, again, it was a tad lengthy, but I mean, I feel like all research articles are kind of like that. But if I read it all, which I did, it was just great information that was needed. And if I was doing more on my lit review, I would have written more from that article I pulled. The major findings from the interview with my healthcare partner. So I did my good friend Carrie. She was very open and understanding already. She just started out being a NICU nurse probably a couple months ago. But before that, she had a 27-weeker that was born there almost a year ago. So she's been through it. She's seen other babies withdrawing in the NICU when she was there visiting hers. And that kind of what made her want to be a NICU nurse. She's just very caring and understanding of families and what they can and cannot give to the babies who are in the NICU. So some can give everything, and then some you just won't see for a couple days because they're working. She does see a lot of babies suffering from withdrawal. She said she has had like a surge of them, which is kind of really sad. It took her a couple months, again, to develop the understanding for these parents, but she said she's finally coming around to it. And then last but not least, what gaps exist and what ideas for future research do I have? There needs to be more classes or treatment centers for these moms. I feel like there's a very blank or just not that many treatments for it. Drugs and counseling, but I mean, that's it. Especially for women that are suffering from this. Prenatal checkups are the majority of places that they can receive this help. So I think that some women need to have more options for that. Like, they can't always make their prenatal checkups. And then that could be like life or death for them or for their baby. And there are not enough healthcare laws to regulations to help the mothers during her pregnancy. If she's a single mom, the costs for those are insane, and when she already has other kids and she's using, and just it's like a whole huge mess. And I know there's like the St. Francis house or like the homeless shelter for women downtown, but that's only kind of like very selective to get into. So I just think there should be a few more. And then prenatal care is also lacking in aspects. So there's that. Again, it was an overall great thing to research, and then just the articles to read. I've just learned so much, and I just love it. So, yeah. And now I'm trying to stop this. There we go.